Welcome back on Football Outside the Box podcast, where we discuss the past, the present, the future of football, and we're kicking it off with Arsenal City, the big one this weekend. It is literally the big one because this might be the biggest match of the season. The question is it the title decider?
I
As
think
far as I know, this is the last head-to-head between any of the three leading teams, right? Yeah, it is. Yeah. So yeah, this is the biggest match. This reminds me of, was it 2 years ago, when City and Liverpool were again going head to head, came back from the international break and played a fascinating 2-2 draw that should have ended in a City win, with Mahrez missing two golden chances, if I remember correctly. Yeah, this is effectively the title decider because I think we're all in agreement that Liverpool are not considered the favorites. It's going to be one of City or Arsenal. Yeah, so this is it.
I can't pick a winner, to be honest. I think Arsenal have been so good throughout the season. I think so have City, even we know they've not really been at their highest level that we know they can be at. They just have so much firepower, so much quality in their side. So do Arsenal. I think this could go anyway and super exciting.
So, yo, my PTSD is kind of kicking in, to be fair. But if there's one thing that's giving me hope, and you guys can tell me if I'm crazy for this being the hope for me right now, but our goal difference for once is looking very healthy and significantly better than both the competing teams, not just City. But do you think that that can be the deciding factor this season? Goal difference?
It could be. It could be. We saw one league last year get decided on goal difference, the German league. But yeah, man, goal difference. We've seen a couple of times in the last few years, if I remember correctly, goal difference being the deciding factor. And yeah, this is the first time where Arsenal really have an edge on City goal difference wise. That's not usual. It's like you always fear teams like Bayern and City. You just know they're always gonna have this massive goal difference because that's just who they are. It could very well come down to that.
Yeah, the last time the Premier League was decided by a goal difference was also involved City. The last, of course, the Aguero match. There are a few. I don't even know if I would say concerns. Both teams have got a few, I would say, injuries in double quotes because Gabriel did not travel to Brazil. Saka has withdrawn from the England squad. Uh, I guess those two are the main ones from Arsenal. City, Kyle Walker also dropped out, but he has clarified that he will be fit to play. Kevin De Bruyne, he missed the Newcastle match and he's not involved with Belgium. He could very well miss this game. He missed the match, the return match at the Emirates as well, right, along with Rodri. So that's something to watch out for. Of course, we're too early to know who's going to play, who's not going to play. Um, One thing for sure, City will have Rodri back, unlike the game at the Emirates.
Yeah, who was also a worry as well, and also I don't even remember if you mentioned Haaland or not, but him as well. Um, but yeah, how big of a part will that play the injuries as well? If I mean, do you even think that those are real? Like, let's answer that one first. Do we think
Well,
that's real?
well, that's why I said injuries in double quotes because Gabriel. I know Gabriel's going to be in the lineup. He's not injured. Saka's not injured. The guy never gets injured anyway. Um, De Bruyne, I don't know that may be really because he did miss the Newcastle match too. But we know March. These are all friendlies. Nobody needs. Like, okay, this is off topic, but nobody needs these games. I have not watched a single match of international friendlies
The
this
league is too
international break.
important right now. You're right.
Yeah.
Like it's too important of a time in the season for it to be having these friendlies and these other random matches that, to be honest, is not needed.
What's the point? Like,
It's true. I mean, I feel like honestly, it's the friendly games themselves, and you even have the Nations League, which many people call the glorified friendlies. I mean, it's just absurd. Like, I know that they have to be played. I know that for the sake of the international team cohesion and the camaraderie, the coaches will want for there to be these games at the very least. And they have to happen. But I agree with you on Sak. I mean, I think a lot of the players we saw not participating over this break, they're going to feature for Arsenal and City.
yeah.
I can't really call it though. I mean, for you guys, can you even make a prediction for this game? It feels easy to say like, well, they're gonna draw, but I'm struggling to imagine how this game going to go.
I just think it's going to be very cagey. The matches between these two teams have often been very, very cagey. I have a strong feeling that like Kai Havertz might score. He has scored for Germany already again. He's been in good form as the striker ahead of Jesus or Eddie Nketiah. Although City have not lost at home this season, they've won 10. I think they've drawn 3 or 4 times, but it's going to be a very cagey game, like the one at the Emirates.
Definitely. I mean, I think it's going to be all about how Arsenal deal with Erling Haaland. Because if they don't deal with his menacing nature in and around the box, just outside the box as well, I think it's over, especially at the Etihad. I think that dealing with him needs to be a priority. And they can win this game.
Yeah, I mean, for me, too, Haaland is the major threat. I mean, as much as De Bruyne obviously is the guy that we look out for, we have to be worried about him. Haaland is our next one too. He's just too powerful. He is gonna cause damage, if you give him the opportunity to, I should say. But he's also not a player that we haven't kept quiet before in the past. He's tormented us, but we've also kept him quiet. So as you say, it can still go either way. And to that point, once I always say it as well, it's a major, major thing that is said by pundits as well. Defense wins titles. You think that the defense is going to win not just this game, but the title here as well? And if so, whose defense is? Do I even need to ask though? Should I be asking?
No, because objectively, Arsenal have been the best defensively this season. They don't concede. They do at home, just like last season, for whatever reason. Every single game they concede at least one, but away from home they do not concede. So that's going to be a tough task, a tall task for City to break through this Arsenal side which just simply do not concede. They've stifled, of course, the caliber of teams that they have stifled these past few weeks, nowhere near the level of City.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah, but they have simply rolled over every single opponent, both in an attacking sense, but also defensively.
Yeah, but the game is gonna be so different. City, I know you say away would look very good in terms of the clean sheets, but it's still City. Home or away, it's still City. The matchup is the most important at the end of the day. Home and away, home versus away is a secondary.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's funny, you see a lot on social media. I always find it so boring when I look on TikTok or Instagram or wherever we're on, and like every 2 videos you scroll, and every 2 videos you just see somebody, oh, City versus Arsenal combined 11, England versus Brazil combined 11, Arsenal Liverpool combined 11. All of these combined 11, and more than half the time they're all the same. You know what I mean? Everybody has the same combined 11, and it's like that don't get a little bit boring. Anyway, I do think it's interesting though that this City and Arsenal team, if you make a combined 11, it's probably the most evenly split combined 11 that we've seen from two top teams in the Prem, like, competing for the title in a little while. I mean, when you had Liverpool at the peak of their powers, yeah, they could have split an 11 with City, but it is crazy when you think from just 3-4 years ago how far this Arsenal team has come to where if you make an 11 with them and City, they are splitting it pretty evenly, in my opinion.
Should we make a quick one?
Yes,
Who is your 11?
I was gonna say, are you suggesting us to do one right now? But yeah,
I can tell you mine straight away, and you guys can tell me if there's anything wrong. I would have Ederson.
well, Ederson is okay, whatever. Yeah, he's not playing, but yeah, okay.
Oh, well, okay. So like, keeping in mind who's injured and who's not. I mean, fair enough. I mean, I'll take Ederson if he's fit. Obviously, Raya would have to go in otherwise. Actually don't mind the boy Ortega that they have as a backup, but either way. So you have the keeper, Walker. I'd have Stones, Saliba. Left back, I'd actually take Ake. I actually really love him as a left back. I love centre backs who go to full back. So maybe I should have taken Ben White.
Or you love Kior. No joke.
Or what?
Or you love Kior.
Or Kior, yeah, of course. Well, how could I leave out the legend? So we have Rodri, Odegaard, KDB, and then I'm taking Haaland up front, Saka, and to be honest, for me, Martinelli or Grealish could go there. I mean, they're two different type of players, and I like both. I can't really split it between the two of them. But to me, that's a fairly straightforward 11.
I mean, I will say based on this season, I'm not a big fan of having center backs out wide. I will say, even Kivior has done pretty well, but just considering the profiles of the players that they've got, I would go 3 at the back. I would actually pick Gabriel over Saliba. I actually no disregard to Saliba, but I think he was better last season too. Just Saliba gets better rep and PR online, I feel. But yeah, like I said, it's pretty even.
Yeah, that was going to be my question, was if you want to swap Saliba or Gabriel, but you made the call though. Ben White, I think he definitely deserves to be in there, 100%.
Over Walker?
Yeah, 100%. This season at least. Over the course of the career, no, but like this season for sure.
He's been great.
And I think the Martinelli Grealish talk, I mean, I know Martinelli's been off this season for his standards, but Grealish has also been off this season for his standards. So I think Martinelli gets a nod over Grealish unbiasedly, but
no, Martinelli is special. I think Grealish gets a little bit unfair treatment sometimes, in my view. I think people look at him, and maybe that's changed over the course of the last couple of years. But I remember when he first was at City, people are looking at him and saying, wow, he's so slow. He just moves the ball back. He doesn't really do anything, which as time progressed, you could say that, that is just garbage. And of course, he contributes a lot to the team. I'm certainly not taking Doku. I am right now on my Doku agenda era, because this man has just been like so not what you kind of want from a winger like that. He's so one-dimensional and predictable, it seems.
Wow. That I mean, that one I'm gonna probably have to disagree with that one still, because I hope and I think that this season you'll be right, but that you has potential. Like, I could easily see that guy being an absolute baller. I don't know how you think he's predictable, actually. I find him quite unpredictable. You don't know which way he's gonna go or when he's gonna do it.
I think that was what people thought at the beginning, and he was showing that. But I think top defenders and fullbacks have figured him out.
Yeah, he's been stifled quite a few times. He hasn't scored or assisted. I know this is not the best only thing to look at, but he hasn't scored or assisted since October at Old Trafford, and defenders have looked like they've figured out how to kind of stifle this guy. Although I will say, wingers tend to struggle in their first seasons under Pep Guardiola. So I mean, we're not writing him off or anything.
Mhm.
He's still very young, only in his first season. Like Noah said, let's see what he does next season.
Absolutely. So he came with the dribbling stats. He was like, when he was at Rennes, I think he was the highest. He had the highest like dribbles or successful dribbles per 90 in Europe, like in the top 5 leagues. And big part of the reason he was so sought after, he went to City. But bro, over the course of this season, I just feel like he's not the one-on-one player that, at least yet, you know what I mean? And I think a former Man City player, Jamie Bino Gittins, is going to be a better. Once all is said and done, I think we will look back at him as the better 1v1 player than Jeremy Doku. That was my thought. And you know how Dortmund love to get Man City academy prospects. I think there's a couple.
So you think Doku is gonna move to Dortmund eventually?
No, I'm not saying that. Bino Gittins is a Man City academy product.
I'm joking.
He's an academy product. But you know what though? There's another academy product that, well, he's not really their academy product, but he's gonna go there apparently, right? A young boy from the United States. Who knows? Maybe he won't, be so desired once he goes there, stays for a couple of years, and maybe Dortmund will be in for him. Be in for Cavan.
Yeah, I mean he's 14. He just made his debut, right? I think I saw a clip this past weekend. But if you think about it, how many we talk about City having such a great academy system that they've built throughout over the past decade or so. Who's actually made their stake in the first team? Foden. That's it.
Foden, pretty much.
Yeah. Rico Lewis he came on last season, but he's still not shown enough for me, or it hasn't been a starter essentially. Oscar Bob, he scored against Newcastle, but he barely plays. Cole Palmer, I'll give them that, but he wasn't even playing at City, and for him to be this good on a dysfunctional Chelsea side, maybe there's something wrong with the integration into the first team at City, because none of the youngsters who are rated highly are really playing for City.
Yeah, they move on.
How many teams academy players really do end up in their first team though?
I mean,
Barca's still doing it pretty heavily.
Yeah, but okay. Well, if you look at the Premier League, I will take out Chelsea. Yeah, I will take out Chelsea.
They tried with Lampard. Like when Lampard was there, he really made an effort to boost up the academy players, and there was a ton of them in the 11.
We're talking about doing it, like we're talking about try and actually doing it, because you can try and the academy players can fail and not do well or fall off, or like you said, they move to another club. We're talking about whose academy players actually step up and become first team players in their club.
But for big clubs and that ends up like getting success, I can't really say. I mean, the biggest team that, all right, when you had like Ferguson's players in the 90s, like coming up to early 2000s, maybe that's the one instance I can think of where the academy products were like the core of a super successful team. But that doesn't really happen now.
That's what I'm saying. That really happens.
But I also don't think a lot of clubs signing youngsters are as hyped up as they are when they sign for City.
Yeah.
Like everybody thinks when City signs someone, oh, he's the next Ronaldo, he's the next Messi. But rarely do we see that come to fruition at City. That's all I'm saying.
What do you think that is? Just trust in the name, the brand, the coach?
Well, yeah, I was gonna say there's a level of trust that we have to have, like we know how successful of an institution they are. They're such a big club. We have this sort of subconscious trust that if they're picking a player, and trying to bring a player in from very young with giving them lots of money, there must be something behind that. So it's reasonable,
Yeah.
When you look at the City, like, you have Jadon Sancho went to Dortmund. Jamie Bino Gittins went to Dortmund and is starting there. You have Jalen Braff, also went to Dortmund, isn't really playing there. Brahim Diaz, now playing at Real Madrid, was a Man City Academy product. At least he played some part of his youth career at City.
Yeah.
It's insane to think some of the players that came through that academy. Phil Foden is really the only one.
Surprised you didn't mention Sancho though.
He
I
did.
It was the first one.
Oh, he did say Sancho. Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't hear that.
But
I mean,
the less said about Sancho right now, the better. I would say. He until he scored in those 2 games, he's pretty bad at Dortmund. I've heard. So I mean, but speaking of City, who are facing let's say 115 charges still, which of course takes a longer time to figure out than what Everton or Nottingham Forest or Leicester City have done, but the first 2 have been deducted points. And Forest have appealed. They've breached the I think it's profitability and sustainability rules. But I think what their point was that they had to sell Brennan Johnson, who was probably their only asset that was sellable for pure profit. They had to sell them by the 30th of June. We heard that from Chelsea last summer as well, right? They were selling Havertz and Mount, but they had to sell them earlier or something to meet the PSR. But if they sold at that time, they would have only gotten like 35 or 37 million pounds. They held out till the end of the transfer window, and then they sold them to Tottenham for 47.5 million pounds. So they actually gained 10 more pounds. But because they didn't sell him by the deadline, which I will ask, like, who set the deadline of June 30th? Because that is not when the transfer window ends, right? We all know that. That is not something that's new. So it's like, is it really profitable for clubs to sell by June 30? They would have gotten 10 million less in this example. But the other side of the argument is that Wolves actually sold Ruben Neves pretty early on. If you remember, it was like done in the early weeks of the transfer window. They sold Ruben Neves early because they had to comply with those rules. So there's 2 sides to this argument, right? There's these rules in place. It's not just Forest that are being unfairly affected. Everybody knew about these. That's why Chelsea sold early, Wolves sold early. But the other side is, does this rule need to change? Because where did the date of June 30 come from?
Yeah, to be honest, it is probably some, there's some level of giving these clubs an incentive to incentive is probably a bad word there, but it's more of like a negative reinforcement, where there's this necessity to sell now or sell quickly because, we want to, basically rectify whatever damages, happen because they're breaking these sustainability rules. So, from a purely business, organizational perspective, I can understand why there's maybe a separate deadline for these clubs who are in breach, but should it be that way? Maybe not. It might be easier to just say, sell the man by the end of the transfer window, or, not, obviously they don't tell someone to sell a particular player, but, they have to have essentially their books appropriate before the end of the transfer window or by the end of it. To me, I don't understand as a lay person why there would be anything wrong with that.
Are we just setting up too many rules, or you think these rules are actually justified?
I mean, the Premier League is very lenient. It's nothing like the UEFA rules. UEFA has their own rules, but Premier League is a lot more loose on their terms. And I think we saw last winter, we saw Everton get punished, and I think that really scared teams off. And I think there needs to be some sort of market correction, and maybe this will serve as because I think before that even a lot of the fans were looking at, I mean, they didn't even know what PSR was, but a lot of them were looking at it thinking, what can they possibly do? But now they know that teams can actually get hit with point deduction. That I think that's most effective way of regulating teams. Nobody wants to get 4 or 6 points taken off.
Yeah,
So
especially
I mean,
relegation threat teams.
yeah. So let's see, let's see what changes we can see this summer, because teams are gonna have to be a lot more mindful of their PSR. Yeah.
It'd be interesting to look at, because you talk about selling a guy like Brennan Johnson, right? And they realize they wait, they still breach the rules, they profit 10 million pounds more than they would have. It's not something I've really looked at, but it would be interesting to look at the, sort of the risk calculation with that. Like, what happens then if you sell him early? You forfeit that extra 10 million, but you don't risk relegation.
The points deduction, yeah.
It depends where they are, because if they do end up getting relegated, then what loss does that represent in that case? It's not something I've looked at, but it'd be interesting to see how they kind of do that risk assessment.
Yeah, but back to the biggest match of the season so far, or probably the season. I have Arsenal running out 2-0 winners
at the Etihad.
Yeah.
You think they're gonna shut out City at the Etihad?
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I feel like this man's like, because that's merger right now, bro. Like,
I've been pushing for Arsenal to win the league. I've been watching them I believe in them.
Man, but this man coming up with the stats about Arsenal have away clean sheets. I'm like, bro, you can't expect this at City now too.
This man has like the hooded Kermit the Frog in the background, reminding him that he doesn't want Liverpool to win number 20 and he doesn't want City to do the 4-peat.
I don't care about City. Anyone but Liverpool. And I would hate for it to be Arsenal, because Arsenal were supposed to be in the trenches.
Yeah, the biggest rival in the trenches.
We're not in the trenches with you, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I was seeing this man. He was crying every game. He was crying because
heartbreak.
Yeah, because Arsenal couldn't win a game for 8 months. Not 8 months, but
it's over now.
Let me tell you something. We're gonna obviously be right back in a little bit to play a game or two. But it's been a long several years, Noah. Like, if you remember the days, and it just came to my mind when Arsenal and Charles Nzagbe scored the goal to seal the 3-2 comeback for Wigan against Arsenal. Those are like, when I look back at the states of
you're talking about all these games, like, bro, I remember this like it was yesterday. Benny McCarthy of a Blackburn against us. The 4-4 comeback that
they brought it back.
When they brought it up the other day too, when Arsenal went up real quick, and everybody was like, oh, Arsenal ended up getting a comeback at 4-4 in the second half against Newcastle. Let's not forget that. And I'm just like, yo, you need to forget that now.
Yeah, well, we'll be right back to play some games during the international break.
That's all we have time for today. Guys, thanks for tuning in as always. We hope you enjoyed your time with us. Remember to subscribe, to leave comments, and share with your friends. Follow us on social media at FOTBpod. Don't forget to leave a review, rating, and most importantly, don't forget to turn on those notifications. Join us again next time as we discuss the highly anticipated upcoming Premier League action. Thanks again as always. See you then.